Hello. This is Pigsy doing another video, and let's turn my lights on. It's getting a bit dark now. Yeah, just I don't know. I just thought we'd do a video, see how it goes. Throw my thoughts out there. Yeah, I think one of the things to do is talk about Trump. I mean, currently there's a lot of stuff that's pushing towards basically martial law, because in the current climate, if North Korea and the US was to have a battle, North Korea would win on principle, because basically they're united, their people and the leaders united, simply because they never had the freedom to rebel against the state. They're not allowed to. It's simple as that. They would kind of create this new paradigm that they've never experienced of an uprising. Don't know, just take an opportunity as it arises. Because they've never been in a situation where basically they've had to rebel against their own government, and because it's this type of communist type rule, that's the process. Both Trump and the North Korean leader, Kim, I don't know, Kim in something. To be honest, it's totally slipped my mind what his name is. Basically, he's had a little experience of warfare. The big weakness with the gent is that basically he's also he thinks, for all the generals that hang around him, he's still the actual person giving out the commands and saying and dictating the outcome. His advisors, I mean, I don't know what his generals are advising him on, because they don't have a long history of sort of military experience. I mean, at least say the US generals, they say no to things that are just pushed by banks and the cartels, the banking cartels. Are pushing forward certain agendas, but the biggest problem with America is that people are divided, and if a war starts, it's not very hard to fracture the core. All you'd simply do is just basically flood the mainstream media with sources of sort of like warfare and how terrible America is and stuff like that. It's enough to put some groups against it, and I don't know. It just fuels it. It's just an excuse, really, to fuel other people's anti-establishment agendas. But this doesn't seem to be much of a lobby for anti-war, because the people that fund the groups, it's a shame, really, because people, they want to protest, they want to raise their concerns about a certain situation, and then what you do with the protest group is you target the leader. You either infiltrate it with other people and then put them into positions of sort of power or control within the group, and then you fund and support them, or you corrupt them with money in the first place. Most people rebelling against the state are quite easy to manipulate financially. They don't seem to have much resistance to it. I mean, if they do have a strong opinion or resistance to things, they can always be killed off as well, and then they get turned into martyrs, and then somebody can use that second in command to say, oh yeah, look, it's white nationalists or white whatever. So there's this white-black war that's been pushed out there, and it's very important to realise it doesn't reflect anywhere else in the world. You know, even when they had in the UK Black Lives Matter protests, this is one of the most mixed societies ever out there, really. You know, like even the slavery was different here than it was in America. So the biggest problem is they push this false narrative. It's just a different situation. I mean, there was definitely poor servants that were white and black in the past. It just reflects more of what was going on in Europe. With America, it was this expansion to territory, and its corporations that basically sort of had fragmented into the north and south with different opinions on how they would sort of maintain control. But then they had this other different sort of plan that they followed through, and basically from there, that's where it sort of grew, basically. This the division, and then also what they decided would be the outcome. But I didn't mind putting the same slaves that they were supposedly defending some rights of on both sides of the fence, which made no sense at all. So you're fighting basically against yourself and for yourself. So it's like it just becomes a bloodfest. That's what it is, and it has nothing to do with whatever the intention was. It's just this crazy, satanic, mad structures that are thrown out there. Trump, Hillary, it wouldn't matter who's there. It's the people behind them, the Senate, that are pulling the strings. Kim Jong, like I say, he's no big issue really. I mean, he was fairly confined. His missiles are likely so slow that you could shoot them out the air, and that's not being cruel. He just says that they would have sort of not the top grade technology. However, manpower, loyalty, they're very powerful. I mean, all you have to do is send in lots of basically, if you set up lots of splinter cells in the US, them kind of guys, you know, they're quite happily blow themselves up, fight for the glory. You know, because so the indoctrination is so deep is that it kind of follows into the Asian doctrine, where there's a kind of person that's basically closest to God, you know, like the emperor is human, all them sorts of things, and great honour to the people. They've got all this put in there, and he could do, you know, basically it's a poor country, you could turn around and say, well, we'll make sure your family's looked after, we just need you to fulfil the duty of the state. So the state control is very strong. I mean, you think of the numbers on there. I mean, there's not as many as there is in the US, but you see how divided they are, and quite easily how the state would fracture in a war situation. So yeah, so the problem is that you could have an external war that's a failure, like, I don't know, firing a few missiles, upsetting North Korea. But the actual real battle is putting a martial law into America and then turning people into communists without even them realising it. Because they have to get up at a certain time, there's curfews, there's control. I mean, the first thing I would have done if Trump would have sorted out the press. If he needs to be independent, he needs to set up his own security structure in place. He needs people that aren't part of the military, his own private sort of defence league around him, and these chaps are just make sure he doesn't get assassinated and allow the freedom of his decisions, because he might say, no, well, I'm against warfare, I'm for technology, but I don't actually want to invade any other country. I want to reverse all the damage in the past and build relations with Russia, build relations with North Korea. You know, I'm going to go around and actually have a chat with the person. If the person says, you know, fuck America and you're all going to die sort of thing or whatever, then okay, that's fine. We can turn around and say, well, he's the enemy of the state. But actually, I don't hear him bolstering. It's only that we could blast him off the face of the planet, and we've got rockets now, and we potentially have a nuclear missile. I think the United States has probably got a lot more nuclear missiles than they're letting on. There's always been this agenda of pushing for nuclear power stations, Now, the byproduct of nuclear power stations is they, Kim Jong-un says he's going back in. Who knows why? I don't know. I was probably had a sleep earlier. That was going on. But yeah, basically they've been stockpiling degraded uranium for ages, and the main function of a nuclear power station is basically the byproduct supports nuclear warfare, but yet there hasn't actually been a nuclear war, so that's the biggest problem. So they would need to create one, because they need this World War free scenario, because they're bankrupt. Basically America's bankrupt, and so if you blow your enemies to smithereens, that way it's the only way you can reset the clock. And the other thing people need to know is that from birth they're an investment from the state, and upon their death they can liquidise the investment to a certain degree. I mean, that's why they harvest people at all different levels, like where they go, what they call family planning, which is just basically is a form of murder, really. I think if you're aborting children and then harvesting their body parts. There's lots of other concerns about the way the state's branching out. He wants to put more human elements into animals, so he can harvest their organs, can be used for, I guess peasants, they're probably, or whatever, and I could put it in the food chain as well. So you've got a greater range of disease, because once you've taken the heart out of a pig or liver or whatever you wanted to stick in a human being, the rest of it, they're not going to dig a hole or burn it, incinerate it. It's going to get back into the food chain. It's simple as they can't stop sticking bloody horse into people's food. So it's a good time to go and become a vegetarian. However, you need to avoid all these GMO rubbish as well. That's not they're not very good, and sweeteners and stuff like that. I mean, I can't go against the corporations, because naturally they just kill me off. But you need to make decisions for yourself, what you think is the best interest for you and your family. With rallies and these violence and all this sorts of stuff, just don't get involved. It's just about messing people's brains up. They want you to kick off against the police. They need more reasons to increase the police force. By that, they eventually turn them into a bit of a private army to control citizens, because they're at war both internally and externally. So that's the plan. Then that way they can basically the 1%, 2% or whatever they are can implement these mad ideas. It's a big shame that it's like that. It's almost like some strange sort of computer game or something, some plot from a weird movie, but then you've realised all the weird plots from weird movies come from reality, or the theory of different things, ideologies, all these sorts of things, and basically they're played out to see what they'd be like, and that's how they make a lot of money on it. So yeah, anyway, this is Pigley signing off.